No Man's Sky wasn't the first open universe, but it was the first of its kind. It opened up our imaginations to what could be done. Similar games such as Star Citizen, Elite Dangerous, Space Engine, and so many others have their own reasons and meanings to exist that set them apart from each other. Oliver's game, Galaxy 4D, plans to make you feel at awe and helplessness in a true-to-scale galaxy where it's not only a game, but a place to exist, a chance for us to experience space exploration. Thank you guys for coming back to Cobra TV, and we've got an exciting show for you today. We have Oliver, a developer, making a space game called Galaxy 4D on the show. And so today we're going to talk with Oliver about Galaxy 4D and what makes this game so special and, that sets it apart from everybody else's, and I guarantee you it does. Where he his plans for the future and everything. What I think is interesting is the Six Commandments. We're going to talk about that here in a second. Oliver, how are you doing, buddy?
Very good, and you?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Pleasure to me too.
Okay, so what strikes me as probably what got me the most interest is when I went to your forum and I saw these Six Commandments, and I want to kind of go over them here real quick. And let's see if I can find the right button here. Commandment number 1, thou shalt obey physics. We do not sacrifice realism for gameplay. Real laws of physics are applied. Commandment number 2, thou shalt have to strive. This game is based on real science and is not easy to play. Commandment number 3, thou shalt assist friends. Co-op is preferable over PvP. I'm very interested in that one right there. The next one, thou shalt not hit a wall. Everything you see is accessible without limits. And thou shalt not see a skybox. What you can see, you can touch. And the last commandment, thou shalt not see loading. Seamless transitions, no loading screens. Now, explain to me what got you thinking along the lines of this is what I do not want to sacrifice on in the game. Tell me a little bit about that before we actually get started into some of the questions here.
Well, I've been actually thinking about this game for a little bit, about 10 years, I think. So I was thinking at first about a game where you can actually, like a futuristic game, where you can actually walk around on different planets. And at first it was about Mars. Like you go to Mars and then you explore the planet. You can build your own stuff. And you talk with other players. But then you have no limits. You can, if you're able to build a spaceship, you can just take off and go visit another planet. And then if you're able to build a better spaceship, you can just visit another star system. And then it evolved in where you have a whole galaxy, but it's not our galaxy, and it's another galaxy. And basically the storyline is that we're in the future, and we're sending people to colonize another galaxy. And
okay,
we send spaceships, unmanned spaceships that are going to the other galaxy. And then once they land on some random planets, we send people through a portal, okay, which is like a wormhole. And then that's where people come into play. When they log in and play for the first time, they enter through one of these portals and they come out on a certain planet, on a galaxy, on a certain spaceship that is just crashed there on the planet. It crash landed there and it's not flyable anymore. So and then you need to build a new spaceship. You need to build things. You can build the habitats, rovers, anything you want you can build. And yeah, you need to you help others. It's going to be more co-op game because it's not going to be the kind of game where you see when you come in and you see lasers shooting all around. It's not going to be a
Right.
PvP game. Players will be able to kill other players, but uh, it's not going to be the goal of this game.
Okay, I definitely want to talk to you about how it's going to be preferable to do co-op more than PvP here in a second, but I want to kind of get a history on you and what you've been through, how you got to be to the part where you're at right now developing your game. So tell me anything that you've ever worked on, or schooling, or interest, or what got you to this point.
Oh, since I was I think 5 or 6 years old, I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to fly. I was looking at clouds, and I wanted to get there. I wanted to go visit these clouds. And also, when I was about 8 years old, I started to play flight sims with Flight Sim 95, a Microsoft Flight Simulator 95 or Flight 6 or something like that. It's been a long time. So I was playing that, and I was having a lot of fun. And I actually learned how to fly a plane at 8 years old using that. And at the same time, I learned how to use computers. And I had a new computer with Flight Simulator 2000 at some point. I was 12 years old, and I needed to upgrade the computer so it can play the game. And I started to learn more about computers. I started to do mods for the game. So I started programming at 12 years old.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I had this passion of both flying and programming, but also at the same time, I always built my own toys. My parents didn't really buy me many toys, so
that's pretty cool.
I always built my own toys. I had my in the second floor of the garage. I had the whole place for me to build stuff. I had a welding iron, and at 10 years old, I think.
Oh my gosh!
So that was the kind of toys they would buy me, because I would prefer to build my own toys then, for the whole year, instead of buying me just more toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would build my own toys, and I would do programming, and I fly planes on a computer. And then when I was at school, I decided to go into programming, because I really loved programming, and I was unsure if I wanted to go to work as a pilot or a programmer. And I met some pilot there where I was working,
right,
in a computer store. Back then, I was I think 16 years old, and I was working at a computer store, and I met a pilot, and he told me that he was a bus driver because he didn't have any jobs in pilots, and it would pay less than driving a bus. So basically, that got me to decide, I love programming as well, so I might as well do a career as a programmer and then buy myself a plane, which is what I did. So basically, I have my pilot license, and I own my plane for about 4 years now. And but I've always been interested in aeronautics and science and physics, and I wanted to build a game. I built games when I was 14 years old using Visual Basic. I was already building multiplayer games.
wow.
It was not 3D games, but it was things like chess games, things like that.
Okay.
And it had a multiplayer functionality. I was coding with sockets and using TCP, things like that. So, but I always wanted to build a bigger game and actually publish a very huge game. And my background is mostly flight simulators, basically.
Okay.
So I like realism. I like real science, not arcade games. I was never really into arcade games.
Okay.
When I was playing first-person shooters, it was more about the graphics. I wanted to see graphics. Like I had the game Crysis. I bought a new graphics card for that when it came out, like 8 years ago, I think. So yeah, I like games because of graphics and because of realism. So basically, I'm trying to build here a game where it's both at the same time. It's very realistic and has good graphics and without limits, basically.
Very interesting. How many people are working on the game at the moment?
In terms of developers, I'm the only
Yeah.
one.
Oh, wow. So I've seen some of the things you created in the past, which I do want to get into that. And that looked amazing as well. And that was 2 years ago. But apparently, from what I've noticed looking around, you started this game, or you were showing a lot of this game 2 years ago, and you came out and you decided to, I think you said you scrapped it. And you were starting over with a better looking game, and you've created a new form for it and everything. And I've joined it, by the way. So tell me a little bit about that. What happened with that whole situation?
I started coding the game 7 years ago. And at first, I started with pure C++. And then I started to run into problems with compatibility with different graphics cards, and I also wanted to be cross-platform. So because I was using Linux back then, so to make it work on both Windows and Linux was a big challenge using pure C++ because I was using OpenGL and things, but then you need to support joysticks and things like that. So then I started to look at maybe Java. Maybe the server could be C++. So I started, like, I kept the same server code in C++, and I started in Java, actually, with LWGJL. It's a pure OpenGL binding, and it manages the cross-platform for you, and joystick inputs and everything. So, but then I started to run into graphics limitations, because Java is limited where it comes to performance. You don't control your own memory, your own memory allocations and everything. It's not like C++ where you control everything and you can optimize it as much as you can. But C++ takes a long time to code, especially for for this kind of game, So, and then I switched to I tried different game engines actually. I tried CryEngine, I tried Unity, and Unreal Engine, and turns out that the one that fits, the one that lets me build something that is that I'm not enclosed in a certain way of making things is Unity, actually. But I'm not really using Unity stuff. I'm not using Unity networking. I'm not really using Unity physics. I'm not using much of Unity. I'm only using it for the graphics engine, which is, by the way, is kind of good. And people usually don't think as Unity as having good graphics, because most people who are working with Unity are doing crappy games, because Unity was free back then and it was like the cheapest one to use and the easiest to learn. And so basically anyone could build a game with Unity. So most of these games that had the Unity logo there were crappy, and all the good games made with Unity didn't have that Unity logo at start, because they would pay to not have that logo appear at splash screen. So basically people came with bad, like they didn't have a good impression of Unity games. But if you use Unity for its graphics engine and for the cross-platform support and everything else, you can actually override everything. You can override the input system. You can override some part of the graphics engine as well. I can create my own shaders like I would if I was working with C++. You know, I can create my own HLSL code or GLSL or CG code. I can do pretty much what I want with Unity. So I decided to use Unity. And 2 years ago, I used a little bit too much assets. You know, Unity has some assets in the asset store. And I was playing around with these, but they're not perfect. They don't do what we need. So I decided to start from scratch doing my own things, my own shaders, my own planet systems, my own everything, my own physics, without really using assets. So
I see.
That gives me the full power of what I want the game to be, and I can basically do a game where it's I have like the whole galaxy and it's full scale. That's the big difference with most space games. They're not full scale, and Galaxy 4D is full scale, and that's working right now with multiplayer and real-time physics, real-time orbits. Planets are rotating and they're going around their star. Moons are going around planets. You can land on them. That's all working right now.
Yeah, you were saying something how, well, you know, you said this game was in development for 7 years, and it sounds like there was a lot of, you know, decision making to where it, you know, setbacks like, oh, I got to start doing this different. You know, I got to change this, and now it sounds like you've gotten a hold of the situation and you're really going forward with a lot of results. You did say something to me off air about being a back-end developer, and I thought that was really, really interesting. I would like you to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so basically I'm a back-end developer at heart. So I prefer everything back-end. I like to do, like, that could sound weird, but I like to do things that, like, you don't really see results right away, but you need to put a lot of thinking behind it. And
right.
you need to think in a way where it's not, you can't really visualize things. You need to understand things and understand how things work and build an infrastructure that, like, you can spend weeks building something without seeing any results, and at some point, like, when you're finished, when you're done, you can play and it just works. That's beautiful. Like, that's how I like my backend, you know.
Right.
So basically I'm passionate about building like the inner workings of things. I had a background in C++, so I like having control about how I build things. And with Unity, I actually use C#, which is actually it's actually a very nice language. It's not that I like Microsoft, because it's Microsoft that's behind this, but I don't really use .NET. It's using Mono, and I'm also using it for other developments as well. And the language itself is very elegant. It fixes a lot of issues with Java, and also gives you the control of pointers and memory allocations if you need to. You can actually use C# like you would with C++. So that's a really good thing for my game. So I like to build things where I have control about how I build it, and I like to design an infrastructure, like the network, the whole networking infrastructure. I designed it from scratch instead of using something that was existing, because that way I can design it. I can innovate somewhere. You know, you can't innovate if you're using something that already exists. You know.
Right. So essentially what you did was you created the what first, and now you're creating the why.
Yeah.
So
I created the whole back end of the game, the networking, the physics, all the procedural generation of the whole galaxy and planets.
Right, yeah.
And then now I'm left with designing the the actual gameplay. So I'm left with the easy part, actually.
Yeah, easy for you. All right, well that sounds good, man. I mean, that's pretty smart too. It's like you went ahead with it looks like most of your commandments that your 6 commandments that you have there for your game. You decided, okay, well these are the things that I want to be solid
Yeah,
facts about my game, and you made those first. And now,
exactly.
like you said, now you just have to create the game. Put the reason for us to be there, the things for us to do. That's I guess it wouldn't be easy for me, but I guess I can see how that's the easy part. The hard part's over with,
Yeah.
and so that's good, man. It's very good.
So
Um,
it's proven. The technology is proven. It works. So now I only need to deliver, but I know I can deliver because the technology is working. Perfect.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So you said it's going to be a galaxy, procedurally generated galaxy
Yeah.
to scale. You said.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for us in travel time?
In travel time.
Like, yeah, yeah. Like, say I'm in a star system, okay, and you know how big our solar system is. So, what are we talking about as far as travel time between stars or between planets in that star system?
That's a very good question. It depends a lot because the thing about Galaxy 40 is that you don't really use existing systems in the way of like when you want to travel to another planet. You can't just use a spaceship in the game and travel there. You have to build your own spaceship. And by that, I also mean you have to build your own technology and to design your technology. You're going to be able to design your different types of thrusters, different types of energy generator, different types of warp drive, if you're able to, and with different efficiencies that can range a lot. And if you design it well, it will work well, but it will always have uh, some things to manage. Some things can fail, some parts can overheat, and you need to fix these parts while you're traveling. So there's a lot of things to do in the gameplay when it comes to managing your spaceship systems, and so it's all about that, So it can take you can get to the next solar systems within a day or two, or within an hour, or within a few months. It really
Right.
depends on what you do with it, what you do with what you build, how you build it, and how efficient is it, and what you have as resources. What did you find on planets? You need to find resources, and you need to build a spacecraft.
Okay. So if our decision making and planning isn't good, then it could be quite difficult to get out of the star system.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that. I like that. So the planets, everything's to scale.
Yeah.
So are we talking? You were talking. Now I know this is a very odd statement, but when people say life-size planets, because planets could be quite small in real life, and they could be really big in real life. So when we say life-size, let's go ahead and go with Earth, or size of Earth for right now. So
Yeah.
are the planets in your game? Could some of them be the size of Earth?
Actually, yes.
Oh,
Earth is about 12,000 kilometers of diameter,
right.
and uh, I right now I'm debugging actually on a planet of 11,000 kilometers in diameter, and I've debugged on others that had like 14,000 kilometers.
Oh,
So
wow.
uh, the whole solar system, actually no, the whole galaxy has billions, hundreds of billions of star systems, each having hundreds of planets and moons. Uh, some star systems have binary stars, trinary stars. Some, I found some that had four stars, four
Oh, wow.
stars in the same star system. It's all procedurally generated. I came up with some algorithms to generate the whole galaxy, and every time it's going to be generated the same way, and all the orbits are working, and are also procedural. Um, so all players will see the exact same thing, and servers don't need to sync planet positions with each player. It's each player that sync that they generate their own galaxy and their own planets, but it's all the same positions. All the mountains and planets are at the same position. They are all identical, and it's based on the timestamp. When the player connects to the server, it syncs the time, and based on the time, it generates the positions of all the planets, the orbits, the position and rotation of planets. Everything is synced perfect.
Gosh,
So
that's amazing. That's amazing. So, all right. So we're dealing with the same galaxy for all of us then. And okay, all right. Well, that's great. So you made a post and you said climbing a mountain the size of Mount Everest or something like that. And I saw a picture of a character standing there. So, two questions about that. Are we talking about real mountain sizes? And
well, that was a tease. That was just a tease. But everything that you see in that image is actually working right now.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I took it. Well, again, I was actually just playing around. I was actually working on the character system last week, and all the animations work perfectly right now. And I was climbing a mountain just for fun, just like that, testing everything, and it was working well. And at some point, that's a good thing. Just take a screenshot just for fun, and then I sent it to a friend, and then why not put it on the forum? It's what people say, and it's kind of cool because you don't really see the character. You see it from the back, and the sun is in front, so you just see a black shadow of
yeah.
So you don't really see much, so that it's kind of a tease,
Yeah, definitely. So when a planet is too close to the sun, is it going to be hot?
Yeah. Actually,
okay, so that's all working. Okay, all right.
Everything will be procedurally generated based on logic algorithms. Basically, temperatures on surface of planets will be based on mostly atmospheric pressure, and then distance from its star, and composition, things like that. And the atmospheric density will be based on the size of the planet and the composition as well, and also the distance from its star, the radiation of the star as well, because the radiation of the star can affect a planet's atmosphere. Like, all these things come in a way that, like, I have an algorithm that will calculate things, so it decides how the planet should be, and planets will have different compositions, different types of atmospheres, different sizes, and it will all make sense, like you will not have a bigger planet orbit a smaller one. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
You have it's going to be real orbital physics. And
so a couple of questions are coming to mind, and the more you talk about this, the more any type of structure that I had for questioning is going right out the window. So as far as so far you're saying how this is like super realistic and not too arcadey, and so what are we looking at in terms of life? Is there going to be life on the planets?
Life at some point, yes. You can find life on some planets. However, there's not going to be any NPC that are supposed to be intelligent.
Okay.
I want it to be immersive. So every intelligent player, every intelligent being that you see in the game are going to be other players. Otherwise, it's going to be, it might be alien animals, okay? Like very dumb alien animals that are
right
walking around. They can be hostile, they can be friendly, but that's for later on. But yeah, it will be there.
Okay. How were you able to tackle, or have you tackled yet, a good enough variation to where it feels like you're literally on a different planet?
Right now, I have two different types of terrains, but I want to make it like with about 100 types of terrains. So I'm working on that.
Tell me a little bit about the art design, where you've got the inspiration for art, and then if there's any soundtrack yet, or what you plan on doing for the soundtrack.
Soundtrack, that's a good question. And art as well. I'm not really an artist myself. For the art, I was relying on some friends. I have a partner in France actually for the game that he's helping me with the design parts, everything arts. You know, he's a long time gamer, so he knows what gamers like, and he likes this kind of game. And we've been friends for a little bit more over 12 years, or maybe 13 years, and he has a lot of experience in gaming, and we've been working on this game together. Uh, but he helps me more with the design and art part. And as for the audio, the soundtracks, I've been thinking about more of a ambient sound more than music. You know, since
Oh
it's not
yeah.
an arcade game. Um, I'd prefer having only ambient sound, like but very interesting ambient sounds. You know,
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
music
100%.
like arcade games, like they have music playing around, and then music changes depending on what happens in the game. You can't really do that in a realistic game because you don't really know what's happening. It's not nothing is predefined. If there's danger, it just there is danger and that's it. Nothing is predefined. Nothing is like a mission where you have to do something. So it's really hard to do something with music that changes depending on the mood of the game, and it doesn't really make much sense. So I'll be more doing like some kind of ambient sound system, and then people will be able to play their own music in the background. They can actually build their own computers in the game, and they have different parts on the computer they can build, which will give them the ability to play music from their.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Holy crap. So you could build computers in this game
Yeah, there's in
that
program.
can actually work the way that you build them?
Yeah, well, it's gonna
Explain that a little bit more.
Okay, about computers, you're not going to build the actual transistors and CPUs and things like that because that would be fun. People will be able to build things like that up to a certain point, but it's going to be like in Minecraft with Redstone, where it's like very slow because you get to emulate things very slowly. But people are going to be using computers. Like they're going to be building a computer with schematics. You know, they're gonna have they can print, like it's going to be 3D printing basically. Every part, every utilities that you can use in the game, you're going to 3D print them if you have the right materials, the right minerals and everything. You need to get the resources, and when you have the right quantity of everything, you can actually 3D print uh, anything you want. And one of them will be a computer. And in this computer, there's going to be a very, very basic operating system, which
Okay.
is going to be command line. So you're going to have to code your own things in there. You're going to have to you can code actually develop a whole language for the game, and that's actually that's also already done. Uh,
Whoa, 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 whoa. You developed a language for this game.
yeah,
Wow.
that's done already. You can actually go learn the language right now. So
Is that on your forum?
it's not on the forum. It's on another website.
Oh, okay. Send me the link to that. I'm very
I'll
interested
send you
in
the
that.
link.
Okay. All right. All right. Keep going. Keep going. You're blowing my mind here.
Okay, so you're gonna be able to code in the game, and you're gonna have to connect different systems. Let's say you build oscillator there, and then you build a computer. You're gonna have to link them together with a cable, and you're gonna have to link the computer and the oscillator to a battery, um, or a generator. You know, with cables, you can pass cables along. You know, and you have to deal with voltage, electricity, and things are gonna overheat. You're gonna have to cool them up, things like that. And like yeah, we were talking about audio. You can actually build a computer and tell the computer to play a certain song in your computer. You know, it's gonna play using your library. You can put audio songs like your own music in a certain folder, and it's gonna play them. So you can actually build your stereo in the game. which will be able to play your own music.
Wow. That sounds amazing. Truly amazing. So if there's no like NPCs, and I'm thinking along the lines of pirates or something like that, space pirates, hijacking your stuff, what kind of threats are there for us as players?
Space pirates could be real players that are working together trying to steal someone else's stuff. And threats, other than that, it's going to be like I talked earlier, is going to be about survival, but not like Minecraft, not in a Minecraft way. Like in Minecraft, when you don't eat for a few hours, you're just gonna die at some point, you know.
Right.
In real life, that's not how it works. You know, you can survive without eating for a week or two, or like if you have water, you're gonna be fine for the most part, you know. So basically, it's gonna be survival, but mostly like things are gonna get harder to do. Like you're gonna walk more slowly, and you're gonna have a hard time seeing. Like vision might get blurry, you know, and instead of just dying, you know. And if you die, you're not gonna just die right away. You know, you're gonna start suffering. It's gonna take time, and some players will be able to come and help you. So it's not gonna be the kind of game where you die, you respawn, you die, you respawn. It's not gonna be that. You're not gonna want to die. Okay, it's gonna be very important because if you die, you have to come back through the original portal that you came from, and like players will be able to build their own portals in the spaceship so they can respawn there if they really don't want to lose their ship. But that's going to be very hard to build. So also everything is going to be persistent. Players, if the players disconnect, their character is still there and their spaceship is still flying around. Someone that built some kind of propulsion system that will get him to destination in within a week will be able to take off with his spaceship and point in the direction he wants to go and accelerate there, and maybe like it will coast for a week before getting to destination, and he can disconnect in the meantime and come back in a few days. And if he wants to see the status of his spaceship without actually logging in the game, he can code something in his computer that will communicate in subspace with his cell phone, with an app on his cell phone. So you can actually control his computer in the game from his cell phone while he's not actually playing the game.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he can receive notifications. He's going to have to program all these in his computer in his spaceship so that he can receive the right notifications on his phone.
Wow. You're blowing my mind, man. Are there going to be any like multi-crew ships? Can you build something like that to where your friends can we can all pile up into the same ship and just go off and explore the galaxy like Star Trek?
That's the whole point of it.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, you basically you can be tens of people in the same spaceship, maybe even hundreds of people, but that's getting a little bit difficult to handle with because one spaceship will need to be controlled with one server. So hundreds of people on the same server with this kind of physics is going to be hard to do. It's going to be hard for a server. So, but at least 10, 20, 30 people, it's not going to be a problem on the same spaceship. So, yeah, and people will be able to build things together, and there's not going to be any ownership notion in the game. You're not going to own what you build. Like in real life, if you want to own it, it's just a paper that says you own it. You're not actually physically owning it. You know, there's nothing in the laws of physics that says that you own something. It will be the same in the game. You build something, anyone can just come and modify it, you know? So that's why it's going to be hard to dismantle something once it's built, once it's welded together. You can't just remove a part of the spaceship just like that, you know?
Right.
Once you welded it there, you're going to have to destroy it, you know?
Yeah.
Like in real life, once you build something, you can't just dismantle it really easily. So People are going to be building things together, and they're going to be flying their spaceships. And new people that are coming in the game will be able to go in the forums and ask for help from other players. That they're going to invite them on their spaceship and show them around how it works and how to build their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about the kind of gameplay you're going to have.
Okay, all right. So are we also going to be able to build space stations?
Yeah, you can actually build the Death Star if you want. there's no limit
That's
in
cool.
size.
So are we talking like Minecraft easy to build a Death Star, so to speak, or are we talking about like this is going to be also realistic as well, and it's going to be very difficult and might require more than one person?
Yes, it will be difficult to build. It's not going to be with blocks. Okay, it's not going to be with cubes and different shapes. You're going to basically build a structure, like a mesh with beams, metal beams. First you're going to build that, and then you're going to put panels around. Like in real life, how you build life. Like you build a big something big in real life. You start with a mesh, like the structure, a very strong structure, and then you add panels, and you build the hull, and then you add utilities like thrusters and computers and different things like that. You pass your cables along, and you add your generators and your some containers for oxygen and everything.
Wow. Okay, so are we going to have to know a lot about the game's physics to actually put that in the correct orbit?
In the correct orbit? Yeah, you're just not gonna be pressing a button and go into orbit. That's not gonna be how it works. If you want to go on orbit on a planet, well, you need to understand how the physics works. You need to build your instruments correctly to be able to detect what's your velocity relative to the planet, and what's your altitude relative to the planet, what's the gravity on that planet and everything. You're gonna need to calculate that and build your own code to tell you what's the direction and speed you need to take to go into orbit. And then you're also gonna need to be able to build something that actually can get there. But,
right.
Yeah.
So you keep talking about the coding. How difficult is it going to be for gamers to code in this game?
The code itself is pretty easy. I designed the code to be easy to learn from nothing. Like if you're not a coder, but you still need to understand what you're doing. That's the important part. So it's going to be easy to actually put it together once you understand what you're doing. Instead of just trying to understand what's this for, what's this character for in the code. There's not much special character in this code. It's very simple, and what you can do with it is limited as well. But if you put everything in a certain way, it's just gonna do what you want. You need to find a way to put the code together and make it work.
Right. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions about some of the planets and everything like that that are just coming to my mind. A lot of these concerns are with most space games that are out there, that it doesn't seem like a lot of people have, a lot of developers have been able to, I don't want to say deliver on, but been able to complete the way that they envisioned. And some of those things are like, if you come to a planet, are we going to see multiple biomes on your planets?
Yes.
Okay. Are we going to see like patches of beautiful forests on maybe a particular planet?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it's going to be procedural also. And it's procedural in a way that you can have there's multiple levels of procedural algorithms. If we take only procedural algorithms for, let's say, a planet, it's going to be basic parameters like atmospheric thickness, types of like composition of terrain, and size of planet, its mass, its density, things like that. And then if you go another level down, you go to the terrain generation, and this also includes different biomes. And like a planet can have only one biome, a planet can have 2 or 3 biomes.
I see. Yeah.
depends on things like temperatures and things like that. And the zones with the different biomes will be defined procedurally as well. And yeah, and it will blend seamlessly with the other biomes.
And this is something that you say that this part of the back end. Like you've already got that working.
Yeah.
Okay, so no one needs to fear that this is going to be something that you won't be able to deliver on. You've already pretty much got that working.
All the procedural algorithms are there. I only need to add the content to it.
Wow. Very amazing, very amazing. So are you amazed sometimes when you're sitting there going to certain planets, you're like, wow, wait a minute, I created that?
Oh, yeah, it's actually, it's like I said earlier, when I do backend stuff, I code something I can be many days or even weeks coding something without seeing any results because like the code needs to be very complex before it can actually produce anything. But once it produces something, it's like almost magical. So if you code it well, like at some point, like I spent days working on something, and then I'm almost finished, and okay, I can start trying something. I can start actually testing it. I hit play, and I'm sometimes amazed with like, oh, it's better than the result came out better than I thought, you know. And
right, yeah.
Very, I love that. I love that feeling. So
have you come across a planet or a place in space that just completely blew you away, like, or surprised you, or?
Well, sometimes like I have a specific scene in the game where I specify parameters for a planet and it looks for that planet, you know. So I can like I can't really just turn out on a planet just randomly. I need to specify parameters because
I see.
There's a lot of space between star systems as well, so it's very big. So I can't just appear randomly anywhere in the galaxy. I'm not going to be anywhere. I'm just going to be in between stars because it's so big in between. So the way I need to find planets is that I look for parameters, and randomly it looks at its algorithm to find somewhere where there's a planet that matches those parameters. So for now, I can't really just I didn't really travel in the game. I did it to test everything. Everything works, but I don't really travel from one system to the other. If I just want to test another system, I just find the system that has the parameters that I want to look for.
I see.
So I didn't really come up with. I can't really just turn out to be, oh, that's a nice place. It happened when I found a solar system with 4 stars, like I said.
Yeah.
It happens sometimes, like when I was testing traveling between stars. I see a star there. Like every star that you see in the sky when you're in a planet, you can just go there, you know. And
okay.
It's actually very difficult to get there because the star is very small compared to all the space around it. Even though the star is actually a full-size star, it's still very small. So it's very difficult to pinpoint it, especially like when you when I navigate using like some kind of God mode, you know.
Right. Yeah.
I can just get there, but I need to match a certain speed. I need to micromanage the speed, and even that's difficult. Even for me, who is flying with a God mode ship, you know,
right.
It's very difficult to get to a star. But sometimes I succeed and I get there and I can test that if everything works, and I see some nice things. Like I can see like a gas giant with 50 planets, 50 moons around it, you know.
Wow.
And their orbits are like they match, and they like I can, when I see that my algorithms work fine, I'm amazed. And or sometimes I just, there's some adjustment I can do there when there's like something that doesn't really make sense. that I see, I would go in the code and change it and try to get back exactly there. But every planet, every celestial body actually has an ID in the game, and it's always gonna be generating the same ID. So I can actually save where I am, and from that ID, I can actually go back there. So the ID encodes the position and the position in the galaxy where the planet is, and that's how we can actually save things on a planet. We don't really save the planets themselves. Everything is procedural, so we don't need to save planets and the terrain and anything. We only save what we put on those planets. So if we build something on a planet, it's going to be saved. It's going to be persistent. And when another player will come in, maybe even months later, he's going to come in at the exact same position on the planet. There's going to be what the other player built. And the planet itself was never saved, only what they put there, you know, and what they modify, what they change is saved. If when I'm going to implement the deformation of the planet, some kind of voxel thing, but it's not really voxels, but you're going to be able to dig in the planet, basically. I'm only going to save the differences, you know, like what changed in the planet at
I see.
position.
I see. That's interesting. You mentioned earlier cross-platform.
Yeah.
So are you planning on this game coming out for Sony and Xbox? Or PlayStation and Xbox?
Not planning it.
Preparing for it.
Too early to say, but not sure about that, because it's gonna be like when I say cross-platform, it was more with Linux, Mac, Windows.
Oh, see, okay.
Yeah, but then there's a problem with the new technology I'm using. I'm using Vulkan and DirectX 11, and Vulkan works with Linux, but not with Mac as of right now, I think. But they might implement it soon. So it should be able to work on Mac soon if Apple wants to implement Vulkan.
Okay. Are you going to be doing any sort of crowdfunding like Kickstarter or anything like that?
Yes, but I think we're only gonna do it on the website, on the forum. You can actually right now go give a donation on the forum. People can actually do that.
On the forum?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you won't be doing an actual Kickstarter then. You'll just be doing crowdfunding on your forum.
Yeah. As of right now, the decision is my own crowdfunding, but if that will change, I don't know yet.
What would you say the percentage of the game is to completion?
I'd like to say close to completion, but I'm gonna say 1%, because this game is always gonna be evolving. You know, this kind of game is always gonna be like, we're always gonna add features all the time. But if you're asking for a percentage of completion, meaning where, like, when is it gonna be out? Like so that people can actually play it, like in alpha version, let's say. So completion, percentage of completion for alpha version, maybe 80-90%.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. 80 or 90%. So you've got a lot of the game mechanics already in there.
Yeah.
Or is that the 10% that you need?
Yeah, well, actually, the gameplay, the only 10% that I need right now is finish the whole construction system. But the whole mechanic of the game, when I say that, like when I tell the percentage, I mean like the time I took to.
I see. You know,
okay. To code everything and test everything. I like most of the work on this game was in the engine itself, like how it works, how it manages everything with multiplayer, because we don't see many games out there that are multiplayer and have real orbit mechanics in a full-scale galaxy. You know, Elite Dangerous doesn't have real orbital mechanics, and they are limited in velocity because they're multiplayer, and there are lots of challenges involved in synchronizing everything, and I managed to do it.
Right, right. Speaking of challenges, what are some of the difficulties that you've had making this game? Like, what are some of the been like the staying up all night and smacking yourself in the face like what are those moments? What were those things?
There were a lot of these moments. Yeah, basically the multiplayer part, synchronizing everything. Like I said, the hardest part is making it because basically like everyone that tried to do some kind of full scale game, not even full scale, but 100 scale of Galaxy, they start having problems with double precision. And even if they try to do they try to do a terrain with more than 10 kilometers diameter, they are having floating point accuracy problems. And well, that one was solved 5 years ago, but this is basically a origin reset, and that's very easy to do with solo games. But in multiplayer games, you need to have different zones, and you can switch to. But when you start adding in velocity and real orbital physics, it's a whole other story, because you need, like, these zones move around. So basically we have reference frames, and every different, like when the velocity between two objects is too high, the velocity difference is too high. There's going to be two different reference frames. These two reference frames will see each other, but different players in their own reference frame, they're not going to go as fast, but the reference frame itself is going to go very fast. But for the game, it's going to be the whole world that is moving relative to that reference frame. So it's reset to origin, basically for both position and velocity in a multiplayer game. That's the biggest challenge. And there's another thing. If I want to do a full-scale Galaxy, that's a whole other story, because not even double precision is enough. You need to add another level of positioning system, because double precision, like 64-bit floating points, are not enough to have enough precision on the 100,000 light years scale. You don't get much precision there, so you need to add another level. And I'm down to about 100th of a millimeter precision.
Wow.
On the 100,000 light year scale. So, but I have 3 levels of precision system going on.
Wow, that sounds amazing, dude. I forgot what you reminded me about something that you were saying here about something I wanted to ask about the planets. And okay, so the day and night cycles of these planets, are they going to differ because of their position to the sun and speed of rotation? So what is the are we also talking about tidally locked planets to where it could be
they are
always
tidally locked planets?
Okay, so what's the most extreme? Okay, well, the most extreme, I guess, would be daytime all the time or nighttime all the time. But what is the most extreme? What I'm trying to say is, could we actually come across a planet that is 30 hours of daytime and 30 hours of night? Is that possible?
Yeah. Right now, the one I'm debugging the most, actually the one that you see the terrain on the forum, is 11.8 or something like that, 11 hours of daytime, of rotation time. So about 5 or 6 hours of daytime. And this is a moon that is going around a gas giant in a 24-day period, and that's all procedural. It's going to be different for every planet. Some planets may
Right.
have a 3-hour rotation. Others may have 50-hour rotations. And I checked the statistics when I was developing it. I can like check the statistics or like the percentage of planets that have a certain parameters, and I can check if it makes sense and everything. I tweak the parameters based on statistics I can get, and I came up with something that makes sense. So some planets will have, I think the most I've seen was something like 90 hours of daytime.
Wow.
Yeah, so some planets will have tidal locked, especially like the closer they are to their parent planet, the more chance they're going to be tidal locked. And if you're talking about daytime, there's another thing that is interesting to mention. Like, let's say you're on a moon that is rotating around a gas giant. If it's close enough, you're gonna have a varying daytime, and you're gonna have a nighttime in between the daytime, because at some point the gas giant is gonna be in between the sun and you. So,
oh yeah, yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
It's like an eclipse, but instead of just covering a small part on Earth like the moon does, it's gonna cover the whole planet for a few hours. So.
That's cool. So the sun is the light source. The star is the light source. So you're not using a separate light source.
Stars are the light sources.
Yeah.
You can have multiple stars.
Stars, plural.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, different light sources can come from different directions on a certain planet. So that can make your daytime vary.
Yeah, that could be kind of trippy, man. Being down there, it's like daytime, nighttime, daytime, nighttime. It's just wow. That sounds amazing, dude. Amazing. I am super excited. Is there anything else we didn't cover that you would like to talk about?
For now, I think we're good. Maybe the name of Galaxy 4D. Why the name?
Yeah. I thought that was odd.
Yeah.
Go ahead and explain that.
What do you think?
Galaxy 4D. I have the fourth dimension. I have no idea, man. No idea.
Yeah, basically the game is not in fourth dimension, right? It's in 3D, but 4D comes from space-time is a 4-dimension. It's a space-time itself is a 4-dimension thing, and that is coming from Einstein, which came up with general relativity. So basically, space-time is related in a 4-dimensional space-time way, So general relativity is something that I'm implementing in the game from the beginning, and it's something that I really want to make sure it works well. Basically, general relativity says that everything is relative, and you don't have any absolute position. So basically, if you're like a planet, it's not going to be an absolute position. It's going to be rotating around. It's going to be relative to its star system center, so there's no absolute positioning. So basically, that's the general relativity, and it's all about a reference frame. From your perspective, everything moves around you. That's the whole point of the game. So that's why we can do something like that with multiplayer, because I implement the actual general relativity in the game.
Wow. If you had to nail it down to explain to somebody that was in a hurry, what would you say would be the core goal? To get somebody interested?
To get somebody interested, I'd say, well, it's a realistic space game in 3 words. And then if he wants to know more, well, it's not an arcade game. It's going to be difficult to play. It's not going to be for everyone. It's not going to be for my mother to play. It's going to be for people who are looking for a challenge, and people who are looking to explore the like a galaxy, how a galaxy works. You know, and people who are trying to learn how space physics works. It's going to be a very educative game.
Okay. So there's as far as goals, like there's goals in Star Citizen, Elite Dangerous, and,
Yeah.
and No Man's Sky is like one of the goals is to to get to the center of the galaxy, or to just simply survive and make your own
Yeah.
story.
Well,
Um,
in Minecraft, you have to kill the dragons because they didn't have any goal, but like people were asking for a final goal, and then let's just kill a dragon. You know, like in the Mario Brothers thing. So in the Galaxy 4D, we're not gonna have any dragons to kill, but you're gonna be making your own goal. But if you really want a goal, uh, like there's gonna be a lot of challenges in the forums. People are gonna post challenges, and even I'm gonna maybe post challenges for players to try. You know, so
right. Yeah.
those are gonna be the goals. It's not gonna be one goal. You know.
Okay. All right, interesting. Whatever links that you have that you want me to include in the video, just go ahead and send those over to me, and I'll make sure that they're in the description. I can't wait to play this. I mean, it sounds like a dream game to me. It really does, and I love the fact that you're making it realistic physics, and that it's not going to be easy to play. I want to feel like, I'm not in an easy universe. I want to feel like I'm vulnerable to learning, vulnerable to the unknown. Like landing on a planet and this has got a really dense atmosphere, and got to adjust to this, and I may not know right away. And what happens when you die? By the way,
when you die, well, like I explained earlier, it's going to be difficult to die. But if you do die. You're gonna have to it's gonna disconnect you, and you're gonna have to respond to respond like either on the original portal that you came in, or if you built your own portal inside your spaceship, which is going to be very hard to do, then you're going to be able to respond there. But if your actual spaceship is destroyed, then you're not going to respond there.
So you'd have to start all the way over. You had to build a new spaceship, right?
Yeah, or find your spaceship. Your spaceship might still be there somewhere if it's not destroyed and you didn't build a portal on it. It's still going to be there somewhere, but it's going to be very hard to find. You're going to have to try and look for it, to maybe go with a friend which is his spaceship. He still has a spaceship, a working spaceship, and you go with him and try to find your own spaceship with it.
That's cool.
For a spaceship, you can do that.
Very cool, very cool. Do you have a guesstimate on when people can finally get inside and see what you've got going on for a release date or for the alpha?
Alpha is going to be sometime next year.
Okay.
Like sometime in 2018, maybe May, June, something like that.
Okay.
But there's going to be a tech demo before the end of this year. It's not going to be available to everyone.
Okay.
We're going to choose people to test based on their how they are passionate about the game, and how they like their discussion on the forums and things like that. We're going to choose a few people to test it.
Okay. All right. Interesting. And you sure we have nothing else you'd like to cover before we get off the call here?
I think we're good for now.
Okay. All right, man. It's been a pleasure. It sounds like you're building a dream game for me specifically, and I thank you for that.
I think a lot of people as well.
What's that?
I think a lot of people as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Trust me. I know that all too well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to, a lot of my guys are going to really be interested.
Yeah, my friends tell me it's going to be too difficult. No one's going to want to play. Never underestimate players.
Yeah. Exactly. Hey, you have an open invitation whenever you want to come on the show and talk about the game. You have something you want to say, an update or whatever. All you have to do is say, "Hey, Gobra, I want to come on. and it's always going to be a yes, always.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
And even if you want to come on and just talk games or whatever, that invitation's open as well. Man, thank you for coming on, dude. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy.
Thank you for your time as well.
Okay, buddy. You have a good one, man, and stay safe out there.
You too. Bye.
All right.